Admittedly, I had a margarita at lunch.
Yeah, it's there. The michelada and the margarita. Season 3 michelada, the margarita. We're here for season 3. Oh my god, so many chips. I'm so full. Welcome to the Body by Beer podcast. My name is Chelsea, and this is my best friend.
Hey everybody, I'm Liz. Welcome.
Welcome to not any old Sipisode, to season 3.
Woo!
Drop down balloons and confetti.
Party, party, party.
We're going to edit it in though because I don't want to sweep it up. Yeah,
We're super excited it's season 3.
Season 3. Thanks, guys. Good time. Let's
Yeah.
keep rolling.
Let's do it. We're kicking it off with what we think is a jam-packed Sipisode. We're going to be talking about Oktoberfest updates, GABF updates, because that just ended, and yes, we're still drinking water. We're also going to be talking to the magical and marvelous Ryan from Fiction Beer Co.
So
He's
fun.
going to take us on a behind-the-scenes journey about how they've combined literature and beer.
It's like your dream brewery.
I know. I honestly, I wish his wife Chrissy would have been there, but I fell in love. I definitely fell in love. It's definitely where I wanted to be in this world. I was like, if you could make dreams match together, that was it.
Yeah.
At least in my head.
Yeah.
So,
Like if you were to open your own brewery, I think that would like 100% be your theme.
And thankfully, they've already done it. So they've taken all the hard work. All I got to do is go there, read a book, drink a beer. We're talking about some other things, too. We've got Brews and Bites coming back with what we hope is a comforting fall classic. We're doing an apple crisp with a complex saison-sour blend. It's called Propolis. So
From
we're
our
excited
Beer
about
of the
that.
Month Club.
That's right. You can check that out yourself as well. And then, of course, we're going to be doing the history and fun facts here with Miss Chelsea. So we hope you enjoy that.
That's what I'm here for. It's our goal every show to bring you the best in food and beer pairings, latest trends, and local insights. Plus, some funny, fun facts is our goal. And about beer and how awesome the beer culture is.
We love
so it's
it
all
so
about.
much.
We love
That's
the
why we're here.
culture.
And we wouldn't be here without you. Season 3, nonetheless. So
So
thanks for your support.
Gosh.
Today, I am drinking Lagunitas Hop Refresher. As we said earlier at the beginning of this episode, not beered out totally because it's got hop in the name and there's hops in it, but I tell you what, I've had my fill, and so still on the water / hop train over here. What are you drinking?
That's tough, guys. You know, you have Oktoberfest to back it up like the next weekend with JB. There's just so much beer. Sometimes you got to take it back a little bit. Let the tummy come down. I'm drinking a lovely 7-Up. In addition, with some tea from a glass that my mother made for me. How lovely is this? Yeah, thanks, Mom.
And I totally do recommend these. Check them out. You can find them at pretty much any grocery store near you. They're packed full of hoppy, delicious flavors, and they're basically guilt-free, 0 calorie. Awesome.
Do have a new favorite NA though, but we'll have to touch on that later.
It is time for some brew news. We've got a lot of ground to cover, from Oktoberfest to hop harvesting to GABF and Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a lot to talk about.
A lot to talk about. So grab your favorite brews, sit back, and let's get started with the latest and greatest in the craft beer industry. If you want to grab a water, we understand.
Yeah.
That's okay too.
Hot water is wonderful.
This year's Oktoberfest in Munich, a staggering 7 million liters of beer was poured over the course of the festival.
That's a crap ton.
Which, if I'm remembering correctly, is actually the most beer poured since 2018, where it was 7.5. I think it's been in the 6s the years in between. Of course, canceled over COVID.
Sure.
But that is enough beer to fill over 1.8 million gallons, or the equivalent of 14 million pints.
That's a lot of pints.
That's a lot of pints.
Let's just pop in for a pint then.
It's mind-blowing to think about the sheer value of the amount of beer that gets poured in basically a 2-week span.
Yeah. That's a lot of beer.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just, Steins help.
Yeah.
You know.
32-ish ounces at a time.
Yeah, helps pump that number up. But also great to see that, though, like, we're hearing these numbers of the craft beer industry down, that Oktoberfest was one of the busier that it's seen in the last 5-ish years. So that's rad to see. That's great.
It means it's bouncing back.
Bouncing back.
But at the same time, it leads us into another interesting discussion.
Yeah.
Is that actually the harvesting of hops is a big load of waste. Not shit. I said waste.
Waste.
Anyway, apparently I didn't know this, and also not a brewer or a malter, so makes sense why I wouldn't know. But anyway, apparently when they're harvesting the plant, they're only using about 20% of it to actually brew beer, which is equivalent to about 2 pounds or something like that. Articles in the description. You can decipher the numbers for yourself. I am also not a mathematician or a wizard, Harry. But anyway, per plant, they're wasting around 7 pounds is the catch to that. So there's some really cool companies that have been looking at this because a lot of problems are coming about it, right? There's just a lot of waste lying around. Sometimes that can create effects on the climate. It also, some farmers are having to buy fields up just to put the waste over there, and it's like, what do you do with it?
Well, it decomposes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's creating all this gas. That's a thing. Especially when we're talking about Oktoberfest, that sort of thing.
A lot of beer.
That's a lot of beer that you got to produce. So there's some companies out there that are trying to combat it. There's one that's actually trying to use the materials in like construction, and they're making like acoustic panels. And cool. Thermal insulation and basically like building boards. So I think it's like this, basically like a particle board, but it's made out of hops.
Just super cool.
The 80% of the hops that are being left behind.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
use it up.
I think it's super innovative. The company is called Hopfon. You can check them out in the article, all out of Germany as well. And the other interesting one that caught my eye is that they're actually trying to create different strains of hops as well. Makes sense. We always love playing in the chemistry lab, don't we?
Biology.
Biology lab.
I'm going for a scuttle.
I don't know what the difference of that is, actually. But anyway, different strains that basically bring the waste down to about half. So instead of wasting 8 pounds of a plant, you're wasting maybe 4.
Yeah, which is super,
pretty significant.
Yeah. I would assume like less viney, more bush.
Yeah.
Got her. Don't want all that waste lying around.
Just let it grow. Oh, God. Okay. I like it. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about that?
Bushes are less wasteful than viney vines.
That's true, and they're
think of
more
the green
fun
beans.
to get through than a vine.
I was thinking of like the green beans.
I don't know why that was so funny.
Well, just dropped a bush joke in there. No, I just think it's really cool. I love hearing of companies help reduce waste. Anything that we can do for that, like combining effort. Yeah, it's just a cool way innovative way to solve problems, and I'm all about people being innovative, reducing waste. There's the coconut company that does the coconut jerky that I think is so awesome, and they use the meat of the coconut from the coconut water companies, because the coconut water companies do nothing with the whole piece of the coconut. They drain them and then they're done.
Right.
So they go in and do that.
Make jerky out of it.
Make jerky out of it. So there's cool stuff, and I love supporting stuff like that.
Yeah, same. So. And this goes without saying, like they're also trying to put it into like animal feed and stuff like that as well. But I thought these were like. Correct. I thought these were just more interesting, right? Like, my house is made of hops.
I was gonna say it'd be way cooler if the bar would have been made out of hop.
I tell you what, if the big bad wolf rolls around, just tell him he needs to bring a zigzag, so you just roll it up and light it. Maybe he's trying to burn your house down because if it's made out of hops. All right, maybe that wasn't that good. I'll save that for my open mic nights. I agree with you. Lots of innovative stuff out there. Also, all about supporting startups and
cool stuff.
Good for the planet
Yeah.
with our powers combined.
Speaking of homemade and making good use and creating businesses and jobs, Jimmy Carter turned 100 fairly recently. And the reason we're bringing him up is because in 1978, he wrote a bill to legalize home brewing.
Signed a
bill. Someone else probably wrote it for him. And this was a big deal in the U.S., right? Like, once we have home brewing, you're able to have all these craft breweries pop up. You're able to have things like GABF and the Brewers Association that started here in Boulder. Like, there's so many cool things that came up because of it. Not saying people weren't home brewing before, but it was now legal on a federal level. And so without that, the craft beer scene just would not have boomed the way that it has and had.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? A recent birthday. We're just coming off of the Great American Beer Festival. We just want to say thank you, right? Thanks for signing the bill. Thanks for putting into play. I mean, we wouldn't have gone to 8,000 and some breweries in the United States without it because of all the home brewers getting to
follow their
hobby
passion
into a business and follow their passion. And that's
Beautiful
pretty
thing.
friggin' cool.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of America.
Yeah. There you go.
Get to follow your dreams and hopefully make some money doing it.
Yeah. All right, so that wraps up our brew news.
It's pretty exciting.
That's great.
I think it's a
7 million
relevant
liters
turn of
of beer at Oktoberfest. Jimmy Carter giving us a bunch of craft beer by being awesome. And reducing hop waste by making building materials and feeding cows.
I love it. I think it's a good juxtaposition of like kind of glutton, but also what can we do with the waste, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of both sides to a story. Hopefully it sparks a conversation with you. Okay, this is for you, beer lovers. If you want to show some love for the show beyond what you already have, we're very much grateful for your support and your following, but make sure to check out the super awesome gear at bythebeerpodcast.com. It's in the links, it's in the bios, it's in the description. You can click on it pretty much everywhere. If you come across one of these fancy coasters at a brewery bar near you,
They're pretty cool.
you know, scan the code and check it out, and we would appreciate your support, and thank you to those who have already supported.
Donk. All right, now that our brew news is done, we're going to just dive right into our main segment, which is an incredible interview with Fiction Beer Company owner Ryan. This is an incredible concept, guys. Like, you see a lot of breweries here, you see a lot of breweries there, but like, these guys are just so diehard and dedicated to the theme and the persona they wanted to give this brewery. And if you're struggling coming up with the persona for your brewery, this is going to be a great interview for you to learn and get some ideas off of. It was just so fun seeing people make so many decisions exactly for how they want their entire atmosphere to be.
It was a beautiful love story between a book nerd and a beer geek. They fell in love, and they got to bring their two passions together, and they created a book-themed brewery. This is Fiction Beer Co. Check it out.
That's cool.
We are here at Fiction Brewing Company, where a craft beer nerd and a book nerd worm come together in a beautiful love story of books and beers to create endless creativity of names, inspiration, and beers. You know, because we're here about the beers. So let's go ahead and check it out. Let's go!
Hey y'all, welcome to season 3. We are kicking off with Fiction Beer Co. down in Park Hill, Denver, Colorado. Super excited to talk to Ryan. We're about to go inside and meet him. I'm having a delicious West Coast IPA inspired by Lord of the Rings, sneaky little hopsies, and it is delicious. Let's go meet Ryan. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Liz,
Ryan,
pleasure to meet you.
pleasure to meet you.
Thanks for being on
Thanks
the
for
show.
coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Welcome to Fiction Beer Company.
Thank you so much.
I'm Ryan. I'm one of the owners here, and I'd say maybe the executive brewer.
Ooh.
I kind of oversee the brew house, help with recipe development. I also handle some of the finance things on the back end.
The best part.
Yeah. So my wife's usually here day to day, and I was hoping she'd be here too, but she's home with a sick kid today. So.
That happens here and there.
Yep, she handles the tap room and the marketing, and we'll talk about her a little bit later on too when we get to the book stuff. So.
That'd be awesome. Oh, let's start with the brew house.
Yeah, come on in.
Let's do it. What are we working with here? How big of a system?
So, welcome.
Yeah.
Fiction Beer Company. We've got a 7-barrel brew house,
Okay.
which means our mash tun and our kettle are sized for 7-barrel batches. But all of our tanks are either double or triple batches. So we've got 3 14-barrel tanks and 1 21-barrel.
Okay.
So we are double and triple batching all of our beers so we can fill up these tanks.
Awesome. You're brewing twice a week?
We usually brew about once a week, so we keep
Yep.
it pretty regular. Next week, we're brewing twice. So it just kind of depends on the schedule and what we have going on and
Awesome.
what needs to be done. But we try to keep it pretty simple because we also do in-house canning and packaging for both of our locations.
Okay.
So everything comes out of this facility for both breweries.
Okay.
Well, not everything, but most of it. So we're doing everything here. So we're usually packaging one day, cleaning one day, brewing one day, and then everything else has to happen on the other 2 days.
Right. So you're doing all the brewing up here, you're not doing any down?
We are doing just
Okay.
a little bit of brewing down there, but it's we're trying to start a series now where we're doing a special brew every month down in Parker.
Okay. That's
We just brewed the first one last Friday.
nice. Congrats.
So New England IPA down there. We've done 2 beers, but it took about 6-8 months to really get the brew system set up down there.
Yeah.
Figure it out. It had some problems. We took it over from there was a brewery there before. We took over the space, and so had to get the system in line, get it working, find out all of its quirks, and
Yeah.
brewing 2 or 3 batches of beer, but that's
Right.
fine. You know, we're trying to
it
figure
could
it
be
out.
worse.
It could be worse. We could have no good beer coming out of that facility.
Right.
But yeah, these guys, Nick and Nathan here, are head and assistant
Nathan.
brewers. We're down there on Friday, getting a New England IPA brewed and transferring over a collab we did with a local bakery down that way a couple weeks earlier. So
Okay.
yeah,
Very
so we got some cool stuff that'll be coming out of there.
What are you brewing right now, or anything?
So we've got nothing actively brewing at the moment because we just had our anniversary party.
That's right. Yep.
And so we had a bunch of beers that we brewed for our anniversary that all released the same day. So all of our tanks got emptied at the same time.
Yay.
And now we're trying to refill them.
Right on.
So this week we're actually brewing a throwback beer to our first year that we opened.
Okay.
It was a pale ale that we had probably the first 2-3 years we were open, called Old Bums and Beat Cowboys.
Okay.
Real heavy English malt profile,
Okay.
but then heavily dosed with American Northwest
Love
hops.
that. Sounds
So,
delicious.
Super sessionable, easy to drink, citrusy, delicious, malty.
I feel like 'tis the season, right? Pale ales are just. I mean, I've had my fill of Marisons already this year, so I'm like, all right, I'm cutting back already.
Yeah, let's dry it out a little bit.
Yeah,
Let's hop it up a little bit.
Exactly.
So yeah, that one will be great. We're looking forward to it. But yeah, features Amarillo and Citra all the way throughout. So
Very
it's a
good.
good pairing with the malts that we use in that.
Very good. Kind of an ad-lib question, but I see root shoot on the wall. So
Uh-huh.
are you sourcing a lot of locally, or?
We
best
do.
you
We
can?
keep a good number of beers. We have a couple beers that are all root shoot malt.
Awesome.
Our collab beer that we did, we do a collab beer every year with our Mug Club membership.
Yeah.
And so for that, we always use root shoot malt because we have them come down. They bring a selection of all their different kind of
Wow.
grains that they
Yeah.
manufacture. So they
Yeah.
grow here in Colorado. They malt here in Colorado. They deliver to us. They're amazing to work with. So
Very cool,
we
yeah.
work with all their grains, have the group taste them all. They pick a few strategic ones that they really like, and then we kind of fill in the gaps and build the recipe out. So this year, what we came up with was kind of a ruby red Scotch ale.
Okay.
A little bit on the light side for a Scotch ale, but they really like the Cara Ruby grain that Root Shoot has.
Okay.
So we're featuring that prominently in it.
Very cool.
But it's 7%, Scottish, not quite a wee heavy, but getting up there towards the 90 shilling
Okay.
type. But a little bit lighter than that. So be a really great beer, and we're gonna barrel age some of that too.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think that's going to be good. What about what are you going to name it? Do you automatically go from tasting to book inspiration, or is that a different part of it?
It all works differently. So for this beer in particular, because it's our Ex Libris membership, that's what we call our membership club. It's just the Ex Libris beer.
Okay.
We have discussed names for it,
Okay.
and at the moment, we're considering actually naming it something from Outlander.
Okay.
Popular
makes sense.
series, popular
Yeah.
show, popular book,
Yep.
Scottish,
Yeah.
right? It fits.
Yeah.
So it works both ways. So my wife does most of the beer naming for us.
Okay. Very cool.
She's the book dork.
Yeah.
I'm the beer geek.
Okay. That's
I
a
read a
beautiful
lot,
combination,
but
yeah.
not like she does. Like
Right,
she
right,
reads, she'll go through a book a week. I'll do an audio book a week, but she'll physically read a book a week, and it takes me 6 months to read a book.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
just don't have the time. But she runs, we have a book club here that she runs. We've got over 1,000 members online, and usually we have 50 to 60 people here in the tap room every month.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy busy.
I love that.
But we have a ton of people all over the country, all over the world who are actually part of the book club online, and so follow along with it.
Wow.
Which is great. But so she does all of our beer naming normally.
Okay.
And sometimes we'll have a book that we want to create a beer from, and sometimes we have a beer that we have to match a book to. So it kind of works both ways depending on what we're doing.
I love that. I love that so much. I often find that with beer and food. That's what we do a lot, right? It's like, is it the food first or is it the beer first? I feel like it just depends on the day.
It works very much the same way.
It's synonymous with each other. Very cool. Very cool. Any special mechanics you're working with back here you want to highlight?
Oh, nothing really special, but for us it's great. We when I built out this brewery and designed it, we put in an all-electric brew system, which has its pluses and minuses. The biggest plus is consistency.
Sure.
So a lot of smaller breweries use direct fire, which is just like a flame coming up underneath the kettle.
Right.
That provides a lot of inconsistency. You get hot spots, you get uneven heating. So it can really mess with your beer from batch to batch.
Okay.
Our all-electric system is 100% efficient all the time.
Cool.
It uses the same heating methodology. A steam jacket would be better, but as you can see as we walk around here, we're not very big, so we don't have room for a boiler room.
Right, right.
So electric it is,
Very cool.
which is nice, but it also adds the advantage of being able to control everything through the internet. And so when we're off site, we can heat up our hot liquor tank. We can get things going. We can crash our tanks. We can do everything.
Love automation.
Remotely.
Yeah.
Which is great for work-life balance. Originally, when we started this whole project, I was supposed to leave my day job and start being here, and I have young kids, and I needed to balance it around. That never happened. I never left my day job. I still have a full-time day job, which is why we have a brew staff who's here every day, kind of getting all the hard work done. I do the easy behind-the-scenes stuff.
Sure.
But it helps them out a ton, and it's easy for us to monitor, and we can be consistent and look back at our records. Everything's tracked and mapped, which is really cool. So if we have a problem with a particular batch, we can go back and see, well, where was our match temp at? How did it settle? Was this normal? Does this match up against what we normally see?
That's nice.
And we can troubleshoot from there.
Sure. Gotta love data points.
Yes, I'm a data guy.
Yeah. Key performance indicators.
Yes, absolutely.
How long have you been brewing?
Me personally, about 15 years.
Okay.
We opened up obviously 10 years ago. So it started out as a hobby that I had wanted to get into for a very long time, and just either didn't have the time or the space or the money. Then all those things happened, and I started brewing a little bit uncontrollably. I started writing my own recipes from batch number 2. Started because I had already been way into it, just didn't have the time to actually do it.
Yeah, I got you.
So I finally brewed a batch of beer with a buddy of mine who was a brewer, and fell right into it. Went and got my own equipment. Then I had one all grain and one extract, and so then I always had 2 different styles, and I could do it. It got out of control.
Compounds.
Yeah, to the point where my wife was like, "So maybe we should open a brewery."
Oh man!
And I was like, "All right, cool."
And 10 years ago, I mean, I feel like you crushed your timing.
It was about 12 years ago where she said that.
Okay.
And then we decided, well, let's have a family first, because if we do this business thing, we might never do the family. So we did that. We had a young son, and when he was not even 1, we were like, all right, should we visit this brewery thing again?
That's cool.
And just started planning it. And I kept waiting for like a roadblock to pop up. Like, oh, no, that's not a good idea. Or you shouldn't do that. Or there's not a space. Or no, we're not going to lend you money. And none of those things happened. So 10 years later, here we are.
Green lights.
Yeah, all the way through.
It says green lights.
It took about 1.5 years all in, which is twice as long as I wanted it to take. But,
that's not so bad.
It's fine. It worked out great.
Very cool.
So, we've been open since 2014.
Very good. Did you open at the beginning of the year or the end of the year?
We opened up the end of September in 2014. GABF weekend.
Yeah, again, and thank you for indulging us during Beer Week.
Every year.
Oh, man.
It's anniversary GABF. And then for several years, we were also doing the Blues and Brews Festival out in Telluride. So it was Telluride, anniversary GABF. It was
September,
too much.
October, we're gone.
Yeah, it was gone.
Yeah. So. Cool. Very cool.
A lot of cool stuff.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it was a lot.
So 10 years.
Yep.
12 years from conception.
Yep.
And you've seen a lot, especially even in the Colorado industry of craft beer.
Indeed.
And you were able to open up a second location during that time. If you would, like, pros and cons of this time and
How much time do you have?
Like, when were you like, we're going to do another location because it's booming? And then it's like, okay, now you're maintaining that. And how are you maintaining that?
So we were very fortunate in that our second location is actually, it's operated by one of our former bartenders.
Okay.
So one of our guys who came in here and just blew our socks off was a corporate guy, but best bartender we ever had. Really friendly, really helpful, upsells really well. Got to know the regulars. It was just a part-time gig for him. He just wanted something to do to take up his time. So he was making money instead of spending money. He was a regular at the bar and just became a really good bartender. And he wanted to get out of the corporate world and approached us about opening the second location. And was like, we'll operate it, we'll run it. You guys supply the beer. So we actually set it up so he owns and operates that location. We license the brand to him. We supply the beer. We operate their brew system down there. So it works out really well. He takes his skills that he has at operating a tap room and applied that down in Parker. And so we didn't have to do anything. We, meaning my wife and I, the original owners, didn't have to do anything to open that location. We just had to make sure we have enough beer and capacity to be able to service them. Prior to COVID, we were doing a ton of distribution. Kegs, cans, liquor stores, bars, restaurants, all of that. And when COVID hit, we pulled back from everything, obviously, and never restarted it. And it just wasn't worth it. We had a full-time delivery driver. We had all sorts of things happening. And back then it was a break-even proposition at best for outside sales. And so it was a marketing thing for us, getting our name out there, getting our brand out there, letting people in Denver know who we are, where we are, all of that. We accomplished those goals, and so we pulled back from distribution, and so we had this excess capacity, and we were able to sell it to them essentially, which is great.
Very cool.
So, and with that, going back to your question, the industry as it's changed. I mean, when we came in, craft beer was still less than 10% of sales nationally. Shortly after we opened, I think a year, maybe two, the Brewers Association finally published numbers that we were over 10% of sales nationally. Which was great. And industry was on the rise. Then everything's cruising along. There was a lot of everything new. Everybody was very into whatever was new. New styles, new processes, new ways of making beer, new styles of beer. Whatever's new, that's what people wanted. And so everybody was chasing new. We were chasing new. We got very popular for being one of the first breweries in the state to do a lot of new styles. I mean, we were the first brewery in the state to do a New England IPA, which is now the #1 style.
Okay.
Odd 13 was about 2 weeks behind us, but nonetheless, we were the first ones to actually have that style out.
Why did you do it? Why did you decide to come out with the New England?
Our brewer at the time, it was one of his inspirations, something he really wanted to do, and so we talked about it and talked about the style and what it was and how to do it. At the time, really, everybody just pointed to Heady Topper, right? Heady Topper is the New England IPA that started it all, so to speak. Right? You had some others that came along, Trillium and Treehouse, and those things. But really, it's Heady Topper. And so we were both East Coasters and familiar with the brand. We're like, all right, well, let's do it here. So we did it.
Nice.
And it came out, and it was fantastic beer. And then we were the first brewery in the state to win a medal for it. At both the Best of Craft Beer Awards and then at GABF.
Awesome.
So we won. We took a bronze for our Mountain Psychosis the first year the category was available. So we got very popular for some of those things, for all those new things that we were doing. So people were coming here for the new stuff. And so for probably half our existence, we never had flagship beers. We didn't have beers that were always on tap. We had one beer that was always on tap and everything else rotated constantly.
Okay.
And so some of that's died down since COVID hit, right? We pulled back on distribution. We pulled back on can sales. We don't sell to liquor stores anymore. And since then have moved to more flagship beers, incorporating some of those. Like even Madam Psychosis that won the medal, there were times where we never had that on tap.
Right.
Just because we were constantly rotating, looking for new stuff, trying to do new things. And with only 4 tanks, there's only so many new beers you can do while keeping the existing beers on tap. So it's an interesting balance. But in this environment now, 10 years later, new stuff is not as important as consistent stuff, right? Really, from a beer perspective, from a brewery, brew pub, tap room perspective, we have rewound the taste timeline about 15 years.
Right.
I mean, you go back 15 years ago, everybody was like, all right, everybody's got their standard. They got their pale ale, their IPA, their stout, their wheat beer, their
lager.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
So did you had the transition of being all innovative and new, and then you had to reel it all in. How difficult was that transition period, right? I mean, there had to have been...
It's difficult in my heart.
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
because I always want to do
good for
something
you.
new. I want to try new stuff. Like, people ask, what's your favorite beer? It's like, well, what haven't I had? That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm like. I'll go to a liquor store and I never buy the same thing twice.
Yeah.
I still don't buy the same thing twice, but that's mainly because it's all R&D, right? I want to try something else. I want to see what other people are doing.
I mean, good for you. I mean, that's, we've talked about on the show before that a lot of times I feel like breweries struggle with their passion for craft with running a business. And sometimes you have to make those hard decisions, and a lot of breweries don't, and they don't make it well.
Yeah.
And it causes problems.
It is a tough line to follow. I will tell you that.
I bet that would be hard.
But you got to find the beers that people like. Like, the one beer that we always have had on tap since we launched it is an amber wheat lager, because it's one beer that takes up 3 different taps. Because we get a lot of people who are like, oh, do you have an amber? I like ambers. Or do you have a wheat? We like wheats. Do you have a lager? Sure. We have one beer that fits all 3 of those things. So we direct them to that one tap.
Yeah, that's cool.
When we only had 6 taps, that was, we have 12? Yeah, we have 12 now. When we only had 6 taps, that was a very important beer to have. But that a beer, very little brain is that beer. And it's the only one that we've had on tap pretty
Funny
much
name.
full time since we've opened.
Yeah, funny name.
Other than that, it rotates a lot. And even still, we rotate. We only keep 4 or 5 flagships on at any given time. And even one of those is our lager, which rotates seasonally. So we have like 4 or 5 different lagers that we do throughout the year.
Okay.
Mav is our current one, our Oktoberfest. Up next is our dry hopped Pilsner.
Okay.
So it's like incredibly dry, like 0 final gravity, super crisp, clean,
Yum.
hoppy, delicious Pilsner.
Yum.
And then we'll go into our alternate present, which is another medal winning beer actually the beer we won our first medal for.
Is that the dark lager?
Yeah, Schwartz beer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Schwartz.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a challenge to try to keep those, but so by establishing the 4 or 5 beers that we always keep on tap, that leaves us with room to experiment. So we usually have one tank that's got something new in it, while the other 3 have some of those rotating ones in it.
Okay.
But it's become even more difficult with the second location now, because now we need twice as much of those standard flagship beers available, because then down in Parker they go through the IPA and the lager like it's water. Everything else kind of hangs in pretty even keel.
Sam's fault.
Sorry.
IPAs. Yeah.
We'll excuse you as long as it's our IPA and lager.
You can hold it down.
But you're keeping up with demands.
We're trying to. We have moments of where we're out of stock of this, that, or the other thing.
I mean, I feel like that's a good problem to have, keeping up with demand, especially in today, right? There's a shift into, we want consistency, right? We understand that, especially in Colorado, you can literally get any style of beer that you wish, because there's so many people with a passion such as yours, started off home brewing,
and so many
I want to see more.
Very focused breweries.
Yes.
Right. They this is what we do. This is how we do it. And so you want a really good, easy example. Black Shirt Brewing, right? Back in the day when we do all red ales, right? Like they're very focused. If you want a red ale, you can go there and get them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other breweries that are like that. You have Crooked Stave, if you want sours and Brett beers and things like that.
Yeah.
They have other beers that are also great,
Right.
but there's a lot of breweries that have, this is our thing.
Yeah. And I think that's cool, right? Like if
I
you
love
can, pick an IBAB, right? And they can do something really, really well. But I do like the fact that experimentation and just R&D is still a thing out there. But I respect the fact that consistency is kind of, even though it's like 15 years ago, to your point,
it's still important.
I feel like it's kind of like a love-hate relationship. I don't necessarily hate it, but
I mean, back in the day when I'd go to a brewery that I hadn't been to before, first thing I would order is the pale ale, just because that's how you judge it, right? And then you look at the menu and find out what else. Oh, that looks good. I'll try that. That's my next beer. But or I'm going to get a bunch of samplers, and so I'll get the pale ale while I wait for the samples to be filled, because I don't want to wait. And it's gotten a lot more back to that. It's not so, let's go find the newest, the different, the this, that, which they're still out there. They're still great. We still do new stuff. We still do experimental stuff. We still do our donut beer every year around Christmas time.
Excellent.
There's there's a lot of fun still to be had, but it's just it's getting reined in a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's got to be easier with the 2 locations.
Oh, yes.
Like you kind of have to have that reeled in a little bit.
Yes.
'Cause otherwise, trying to brew that for 2 locations would be.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't keep 12 standard beers on tap all the time at 2 locations. It just wouldn't. There's not enough capacity in our brew system to do that.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge. By having a few of these one-off beers or beers that only fit a certain niche or only certain drinkers are going to like them, it gives us a breadth of variety while also not going through it all super fast. So we have some beers that will, are some of our sours that we do, they'll be on tap for 6 months, which is fine because they age great. But our IPAs need to be off those taps in 8 to 10 weeks. You know? We want them gone before they hit their 90-day shelf life. So we've tried to keep things balanced that way.
I think it's a good point to transition into the fiction and the literature behind it. It's a bummer that your wife couldn't be here,
I know.
but sick kids are sick kids,
Yep.
right? How many kids do you have?
2. I got a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old, boy and a girl.
Handful.
Oh yeah. The daily schedules are challenging. Actually, it's great that he's sick today because there's no football practice tonight.
Sure.
We're not driving around all day. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
And we, during COVID, moved down south to the burbs. We used to live about 5 blocks from here, which is why we opened here. There was no brewery over here. And we got tired of driving to the other side of town with little kids to go to other breweries and get there, like not even get through a beer, and then it's like nap time, we gotta go. So we opened up here, so there was something on this side of town. Now there's 5 breweries within a couple mile radius of here.
From a tourist perspective, it's great for tourism, right?
100%.
Bebop from here to here to here.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And we get a lot of people stopping off on their way to or from Denver from the airport.
Sure.
It's an easy pull off from I-70. They can come down here, stop, and then they get going. I started writing our business plan. My background is in restaurants and finance and accounting and that sort of thing. So I set out to write a business plan first and figure out how are we going to do this. Wrote the business plan, didn't have a name, anything attached to it. It was just numbers and ideas, and here's how we want to do it, and here's what we want to do, and where we want to do it. Here's the marketing, here's the population. Got all that sorted out, and we're like, all right, we're going to do this. And so the first round of business plans that went out had, like my home brewery name on it. You know, what we called, I this one beer that was really great beer that I loved it, and I'm like, that's going to be the name of my home brewery. And that wasn't going to be a good professional brewery name, so we kept just bouncing. I had this list. We probably had 40 different things on it that we were like, well, what if the brewery is this? What is that? But at the time, what inspired us to come up with a list of different, call it themes for our brewery was there was a lot of litigation going on between breweries and other businesses for names of beers, copyright infringement, things of that nature, right? So we were looking for something that would provide us with naming of our beers where we wouldn't get into so much infringement trouble, right? So my wife being a big book dork and me liking to read, and me being a big beer geek and liking to read, we kind of combined those things. She sent me a text message one day, well, what about, Fiction Brewery? And I was like, Fiction Brewery? What about Fiction Beer Company? So it started from there, and it was like, all right, well, all of our names could be inspired by books that we like, and so we can draw from the literature that we read and the books that we read and come up with unique names that aren't going to be infringed upon, that not every other brewery is going to have a name of.
Yes.
And so it started from there, and we started looking at it. Then we talked to an attorney and was like, well, if you're drawing your inspiration from books, don't use any proper nouns. Don't use names, don't use locations, don't use things like that, right? Because that's original content.
Exactly.
And it's fine. So we draw a lot of phrases. Phrases are like our key. That's what we love to pull from. So we'll read books, We'll play around a little bit. Luckily, it's public domain now, but A Beer, Very Little Brain wasn't public domain.
Right.
A Bear of Very Little Brain was what they called Winnie the Pooh in the Winnie the Pooh books, right? So we kind of play around with things like that, or we draw single words. But yeah, it gave us all the inspiration for our books and our beer combination. So my wife reads the books, comes up with the names, and usually she'll write down like a list of like 5 or 6 different names, and we'll debate them, we'll talk about it. Well, scratch that one, scratch this one. That one's good, but maybe this one's better. Then it's, well, how does this tie to the beer?
Right,
Or
right,
or how does the
exactly.
beer tie to this name?
Yeah.
You know, depending on which way we went with it.
Yeah.
And so then she'll write the first paragraph. You know, all of our cans have descriptions of our beers, and the first paragraph is always a tie back to the book, and then the second paragraph is always the beer description, brewer's notes, malt, hops, that sort of thing.
Sure.
So she'll write the first paragraph, I'll write the second paragraph, and book some beer. We're done. So I mean, we've only gotten one cease and desist, I think, and it was
That's
because
pretty good.
we used a proper name, and we shouldn't have. It wasn't really a proper name, but it was like a character, it was a character's like sub name. It was from like a graphic novel.
Okay.
And so yeah, it was Half Wolf. So we got a cease and desist on that one.
I mean, if you're not getting a cease and desist,
You're not doing- you're doing
it
something
right?
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that so much. Do you ever? Is it more fun, or is it ever like challenging to kind of come up with beer style and name and beer style? Like
Yes.
Yes. Do you have
It
a
is always
favorite-
fun, and it is always challenging.
Do you have a favorite one in mind that was most challenging and or most fun?
Oh gosh, the most fun is probably our donut beer, which
Okay.
we originally called 42.
The secret to life. Yeah.
The universe and everything. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's Donut Panic, right? It is. So we called it 42. Released it the first year. It was great. I was at a beer festival, and somebody came up to me, and she was like, "Oh, a donut beer based off of Hitchhikers. You should have called it Donut Panic." And I was like, "You are right.
You're right. Let me scratch that off.
Can I
really
take
quick.
that? Yes. Okay, good." So the next year it was called Donut Panic, and so 42 became Donut Panic, and that's one of the most fun ones to write. We actually had the first year we released it when it was 42. We had one of Douglas Adams' relatives who was in here drinking it and left us a Don't Panic towel from the show. Yeah,
that's cool.
It was really cool. We've had a lot of really cool interactions with the authors, and that's probably the funnest part. Is when we just do our thing, and then an author gets wind of it and reposts it or makes a comment on it or things like that. Like we've had we've done a couple author collabs, which are really fun.
Hell yeah.
We did one in the very early years with Kevin Hearn, who was living here at the time, but now he's in Canada. We've had shout outs from like Neil Gaiman and John Scalzi and some really cool authors. So those parts are really fun. And then as I said before, my wife ties that into the book club too. So, and we always post all that. And so we get a lot of callbacks from authors about that kind of thing too.
Sure.
So it's really cool.
You said there's over 1,000 in the book club?
Yeah. So we have a Fiction Beer Book Club group on Facebook.
Okay.
There's over 1,000 people on there.
Wow.
And then we have usually 40, like this whole tap room is usually full with book club people.
I love
So
that.
she'll have to
I
come
wish I
in.
lived closer.
She writes all the questions usually for the book club, so
Sure.
it's all original. Sometimes if it's a book that has a book club, sometimes books will have like a book club questionnaire in the back or online or something. Yeah, so sometimes she'll use some of that, but usually she's writing it all on her own because she'll choose the books. She puts out 3 books every month and says, "Hey, everybody vote on which one's your favorite." And so everybody votes, and whichever one wins, that's what they do the book on that month.
Sure.
But it runs
Easy
through different
peasy.
themes. But yeah, we usually have 40, 50 people in here for book club every month.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great.
That's so cool.
I feel like you got to talk about this bar a little bit. Are these are actual books made out of a bar? Made
Yeah,
out
if you
of
check on the
actual
side, you can
books.
see that. I mean, they're full. They're not cut down or anything.
I feel like it's low hanging fruit. Let's make a bar out of books. But how easy was that to accomplish?
Like, where did you get all the books? You just like go to the thrift store and just like clear off the shelves?
Pretty much, yeah. So
great.
when we were building out this location, we worked with a woodworker who actually did our tables and our bar and the bar over there, and they put the quotes and the tables and stuff for us that we gave them. But we said, hey, we got this idea for a bar. And we had 2 different ideas, and so they mocked up both of them for us. One was what you see here. The other one was a regular bar, but the top of it was all book pages, and they were inlaid and clear, so you could read the book pages.
Oh yeah.
And that just didn't look as good because once you coated it with the polyurethane, the pages got all wrinkly and
Yeah.
didn't look great. So we went with this. But yeah, we bought books basically by the pound from like Goodwill and that sort of thing. We had some donated to us. But the folks, our woodworkers who actually did everything, had a guy who broke his leg skiing or something. I forget how, but he broke
That's
his leg.
pretty Coloradan. Yeah.
And they basically had him, he told me, for a week sitting here and separating the books by length, width, and height. So that they can be built into the shelf like bricks.
I feel like that's a good Kevin project.
Yeah, because if you didn't do that, they get all kind of squirrely and cockeyed. And we have seen, since we had this epiphany original idea, other bars or breweries that have a book bar like that. None of them look as good, I will tell you, and I will give full credit for that to Black Hound Design, who did our bar. But they like Modern Times Brewery, right? Pretty well-known brewery. Their original tap room, which I think just recently closed, which sucks. They have a book bar, but it's all like they're crooked and stacked on each other, and it just doesn't look as great, right? So everything's in there like a brick, and it's solid.
Yeah, it's, on the bar that we shoot the podcast on, my husband and I did. We made the whole front mountain facade out of pallet wood.
Oh yeah.
And the same kind of thing is they're not all the same length and width, so you had to like go figure out.
Match them up. And
I was like, we'll just paint the plywood black and fill it. It's fine if there's gaps. Yeah, I was like, I don't have patience for that. And we did a couple more projects with pallet wood, and then when last couple ones we've done, he's like, I don't want to use pallet wood.
It's like, not worth it to us anymore.
But that's exactly like I wouldn't have even thought of it. Like I did toward the end, but I feel like I would have just done it. And then, like, only figured out what to do for the top. And been miserable on just the top 4 books.
Yeah.
How many books?
I've never counted them. Somebody used to love to point out to us there's like a Bill O'Reilly book or something in there.
They're like, did you know? Do you ever...
Oh, actually, I'm looking right now. I just finished a book that I see in the bar.
I feel like every garage sale I've ever been to is sitting in front of me.
Well, our lending library that we have over here. So when we were opening up the brewery, we knew we were going to have this. We wanted to basically make a very large little free library.
Love it so much.
And so initially to stock it, we were just out wandering our neighborhood one day over here in Park Hill. And 1 block over, a gal was selling boxes of books at a yard sale. Yeah. And we were like, oh, this is great. We walked around the neighborhood yard sale, figured we'd pick up a few books here or there, have them be fine. So it was like, well, I got 27 boxes of these books that they were my grandmother's, and she read everything, and they're all hardcovers, and I don't have any place for them. So we were like,
take them.
We'll buy those from you. $10 a box. I think we spent like $300, and
that's pretty good.
Bought like 300 books for the trading library, and a lot of them are gone now. But certainly on the edges, like up top, you can see all the hardcovers up there. Yep. Those are absolutely 100% hers. And if you open them up, she had like her own stamp that she put in. Dorothy, I forget her last name.
I did the same thing. I sign them.
Yep, they're all in there, stamped with Dorothy, with her.
Someone will care that I read this book.
What about if you could give the brewery itself, you feel free to add in the addition if you want, if you could give it a character, what character would the brewery itself be?
Like an existing character? Like a
Your
known character?
story.
Oh, let me sip on this one for a second. Character for the brewery. Well, you know what's a fun story, aside from that, while I think about that a little bit, is one time we actually worked with an author who wrote a book for the brewery.
Oh my gosh.
And we did a beer. It was a collaboration sort of thing, but it was a novella. But she wrote and published a novella that took place at Fiction Beer Company, featuring Fiction Beer Company, called Adjunct Lovers.
Okay.
But she was it's a romance novel, novelist. But her shtick was they all took place in breweries.
Okay.
And so I forget how we got connected with her. My wife would remember, I'm sure. But so we started just chatting online and decided to do it. And so we brewed a beer, and she wrote a book, and then she came out here for the release. It was fun. So there's always that brewer from a book. You could be that character.
I love that. I think it's
it would be an adventure. It would be and I don't have the character, but a road story, right? Somebody has to get from point A to point B, but that path is very squirrely and wandering, and they meet new characters and new friends and enemies along the way.
Amen.
And eventually get to their destination. Yeah. That is the character we would be.
Okay. I love that.
I don't have a specific character in mind.
I think that's a great answer, right?
But
and there's
we wander like we were talking about. We wander all over the place with our styles, with our events. Yeah. I mean, we do a lot of literary themed events, but we have our own trivia group that comes in here that writes the trivia. Like, it's not Geeks Who Drink or any of those brands that just recycle their trivia. Like they are our regulars who write trivia and do it here and here only.
cool.
And it's cool stuff like that. But yeah, we meander a lot. We get distracted a lot. We're like, ooh, squirrel. And we
Roads
run.
less traveled, right?
Yeah,
Or
uh-huh.
whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so we see something cool, we'll generally chase it if we think it's going to be fun or interesting or different.
I think you have a really great story. I love the combination of beer geek, book nerd. I mean,
We get very nerdy here. I mean, we have our own
It's okay.
like game night that's
Yeah.
here on Tuesdays.
okay.
And then they even started a sub game night of like play test Tuesdays. So they come out here and test new games that people are working on designing and building. And
Cool.
yeah, it's like a
Wow,
great
that's
group of
so
people who
true.
do that.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, we've got our trivia folks, and we do all sorts of stuff. We do a lot of collabs with the library, the
Sure.
Denver Public Library, and their, Friends of the Denver Library, our fundraising arm.
Mm-hmm.
We just did a band book bingo with those guys a little bit ago, which was
Okay.
fun.
Absolutely.
So we do cool things,
It's fun.
especially if it's nerdy. We're into it.
Yeah.
We get very nerdy.
Yeah, when I just kind of pulled up in my list of questions, if you could collab brew with any figure, dead or alive, who would it be and what style of beer would you brew?
Fight Club question.
That's a fun question. I never had anybody like ask that before. My beer life has changed a lot over the last 20 years,
Yeah.
And especially over the last 10 since opening the brewery. And 20 years ago would have been a different answer than 10 years ago, which would have been a different answer from now.
Fair. Okay.
So now I would say more of a historical figure.
Okay.
I'd say, like a founding father, a George Washington, a Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, one of those here, because I know they weren't brewing as good a beer as they could have. We could definitely do better
We could definitely do
than what they were doing
that.
back
Show
then.
off all the electrical system.
I
yeah.
think we could blow their mind, which would be amazing. That's a good answer for now. In the past, it definitely would have been 10 years ago when we were first opening.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been every like celebrity brewer that I knew of, like
Fair.
like Sam Calgione or a Vinny Chilurzo or Garrett Oliver, all these beer names that just are blow your mind and make amazing beer and have
Yeah.
figured out how to survive here for decades,
Yeah.
right? To learn from them. I've had the pleasure of meeting all of them at this point. Never brewing with them, but
Cool.
have at least shaken their hand and had a conversation here
Awesome.
and there.
Anything, so you say you have a lot of people pop in off of I-70 heading to and from the airport. Obviously, we'd like to hit a lot of people that are new to the area, but also some regulars.
Yeah.
Anything in particular someone new should know? And a regular, like any fun fact you want to drop on them, they may not know. And if they already know, they already know.
Oh,
That's
I think
okay.
the regulars already know.
They already know,
They're
that's
sitting
fine.
there behind you. I mean, we've got some great regulars who are in here, come in, have their beer every day. Some will come in and have a couple beers every few days. We've got a great following of
I would
neighborhood regulars here.
Yeah.
But we also do get a lot of people who are just traveling from brewery to brewery, doing the beer tourism sort of thing.
Yeah.
Come for brew tours.
Oh, yeah.
Here's our tour.
Yeah, right. There it is.
There's nothing really for regulars to know that they don't already know.
That's
They
great.
know everything.
I love that. That means your
they're sitting here
identity is
talking to our
already out
manager
there,
right now.
and we're not guessing it.
She tells them everything. No, we don't necessarily let them know all the bad things that happen. There's a lot of bad things that happen behind the scene where I tell the brew staff, do not tell the regulars about this. Do not tell the bartenders about this because they will just tell everybody, and
Yeah.
that's just
Well, that's their job.
not something we need to do.
Literally, that's the job of the bartender.
You just talk.
So, there's some of that stuff, why we dump certain beers, things like that, or something that we might not like in a beer, but somebody else likes. And, so we always have a rotating selection of beers, and I drink all of them, but I like some more than others. And some I might not like. I don't drink raspberry beers. I don't know. I've got this mental block, or wit beers. I've got this mental block where when I drink them, they don't taste good to me. Everybody else is like, oh, this is a great beer. I love this. This is fantastic. I can't drink them. I just can't. 1 out of every 10 raspberry beers, I'll like. It has a flavor that works for me. But a lot of times it's Robitussin. Like best brewer in the world makes a raspberry beer and it still tastes like Robitussin to me. I just can't do it.
Do you like raspberries?
I love raspberries.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
no
then
issues
we're
with
like
raspberries.
That was my question.
I don't
Too.
like raspberries. It
No.
doesn't make sense. We don't like raspberries.
There's very few things I don't like. I'm a food guy and a beer guy. I like it all. So, there's things that we don't discuss. Like I get this character out of a beer, but like I'm the only one getting it. I don't share that with everybody. People who have been coming here forever might not know that. New people coming in is introduce yourself. Like we've always got a rotating selection of people coming in here, trying new things. Let us know who you are. Let us know it's your first time coming in, and we're happy to make recommendations for you. You can try different stuff, get a little splash of a few different beers, zero in on what it is you like, what it is you want to drink. We usually, our tap list is only 12 beers, but we usually have a little bit of everything. We got fruits, we got sours, we got lagers, we got pale ales, we got hoppy, we a little bit of everything.
Covering the spectrum.
So there's always going to be something that we can find for you.
Yeah. What about people that want to get into the industry? Any advice for them, either from a brewing perspective or front of the house? Any advice?
I'm not a great source for that. Like to get into the industry, I had to open a brewery. So
there you go.
That's my advice. You want to be in the industry?
Yeah.
Open a brewery.
There you go.
But that's not so easy. I was very fortunate in where I was at in my life to be able to have done it. And my background in restaurants and finance.
Sure.
It's not as easy for other people. But I have talked to dozens of people over the 10 years who've wanted to open breweries, who've wanted to, get into the industry and shared that same, insight with them. Like, here's what you do. If you can't do that, that's not possible for you. Then it's just be at a brewery, start working there, whether it's behind the bar or in the brew house. And if it's in the brew house, you're probably at this stage of the game, you're going to need some sort of an education.
Right.
Like we feed a lot off of either the Regis or the
MSU.
Denver Metro campus. We get a lot of them. One of our ex-brewers who's QC manager up at a yeast lab is also a teacher over at Regis. So they have a great brewing program. So we've had a lot of brewers come through here out of those programs.
Sure.
So it's just a great opportunity to network. Networking is everything.
Yeah.
There's only so many brewing jobs for us. As many breweries as there are in the state, there's only so many brewing jobs.
Right.
And so, we it's probably our fourth brewing team that we have going back there right now, Nick and Nathan. I mean, we've had some brewing teams that have adjusted over the years, but we're small. We recognize where we're at.
Yep.
People come in, they learn the ropes. They, the head brewer goes someplace else. The assistant moves up.
Yep.
They take over. They learn a few things. Then they go someplace else, and the next. So we're sort of a minor league team for brewers going other places. Like our brewers have gone on their ratio, Station 26, QC yeast labs, running yeast labs. So our brewers have moved on to a lot of owners of other breweries. Not a Root. Our original brewer that we had owns Not a Root up in Netherlands.
Okay.
So they've definitely made some rounds.
That's awesome. All right, last but not least, if you could be any beer in the world, what beer would you be? Why?
That's another historical question. Like 10 years ago is a different answer
we
than
like
now.
psychology. At least one of us does.
Man. Well, in this day and age, the beer that I need to be is just a very simple lager, malty, rich, not overly sweet, a little bit on the drier side, very carbonated.
Yes.
Easy drinking.
Yes.
Consumer friendly. My tastes have moved a lot with the industry. I mean, 10 years ago, everybody was drinking real big, heavy sour beers and 15% stouts. And now everybody wants crispy boys that are low ABV, light. You can drink a ton of them and you're still going to be all right.
Yeah.
My tastes don't differ a whole lot from that. So I don't drink as many sour. I've got a cellar full of sour beers in my basement that are just aging gracefully at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Gonna go.
I know. And they used to be my go-to. I used to crave them so bad. I just don't anymore, and I don't know why. I mean, I was cellar member number 9 at Crooked Stave. I mean, so that's most of what's in my cellar is Crooked Stave.
The food pairing is what gets me with sours.
Yes.
Sours are just so
They,
good
especially with a rich, fatty food. They're
They're so good with food. I struggle. There's not a whole lot of like IPAs I like with food. It just doesn't work for me that well. I'm too sensitive to the
Too
bitterness.
contrasting.
Yeah.
Takes away from the food.
Yep. And just like overpowers it. So I have like sours all day as long as I have food. But
Yeah.
I get the big bombers and I have to wait for Liz because I'm like,
I can't drink this whole thing by myself.
Yeah, I don't want to throw it away. It was like $30. I don't want to throw it away.
There's this one year where Crooked Stave for their Mug Club member, their Cellar Reserve program, they gave a wine glass basically as one of the, but it would fit 750 ml. You could pour the entire bottle in without stopping because you get the dregs in the bottom, right? So if you stop pouring, then it mixes up into the beer. So you could pour the whole thing into the glass.
Yeah.
I used to love that glass. Then I broke it.
I was like, did it break?
Yeah, thank
Thank you
you.
for spending some time with us.
Yeah, happy to do it, ladies. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming down and enjoying some fiction beer with us.
Oh my gosh. I'm totally going to have another before we go if we have time. But if not, that's okay too.
Please
But
do. Well, you know where to find us.
appreciate it,
You can
yes.
always come down.
Yes.
Let us know anytime you're coming. We always got cool stuff going on.
Right on. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We keep all our stuff up to date on the website. Everybody can go there if you
Okay.
want to see events, our book club, our past book clubs, if anybody wants to follow along with that.
Awesome.
All of our food trucks, everything's up there for the taking.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right, so that is Fiction Beer Co. down in beautiful Park Hill, Denver, Colorado. We had the most wonderful time getting to speak with Ryan, and we sure are sad that we didn't get to hang out with Krista, but next time for sure. Don't forget to go in, check out the beer, check out the books. They have a book club. You can join online. They meet like once a month at the end of the month. It's really cool. Like, they are literally open books. Love to talk to the people coming in. Love to talk where the inspiration behind the beers come from and the names for the beer. I think that was my favorite part.
Yeah.
And just how, like I said, it's like this love story of language and chemistry, right? And then at the end, you have this beautiful beverage to sip and talk about the book that you're talking about. Like, very cool people. Can't wait to get back in there. I did join the book club myself, so I'm excited for next month. And hopefully, make it down once a month. That'd be great.
Yeah. Thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Fiction Beer Company, for being our first interview of season 3.
Super appreciate it.
It's great. Great way to get started. All right, for today's Sips of Wisdom, as no surprise, it's going to be about books and beers.
Books and beers.
Books and beers. Really, this was very inspired by Liz's recent travels to Scotland, and also Liz was really excited to have
excited about this.
a brewery book theme, blah, blah, blah. So from Robert Burns' Poetic Nights at the Ale House to the cozy taverns of Harry Potter's world, beer is more than just a drink. It's woven into the books that we read and love every day, and the storytelling that goes along with it. So let's hit you with some fun book nerdy facts. Aho!
This is Sips of Wisdom.
Ever wonder what a Game of Thrones beer would taste like? Well, Omegang Brewery brings George R.R. Martin's works to life with beers such as Fireblood Red Ale, pays tribute to House Targaryen's fierce dragons, and Take the Black Stout, inspired by Night's Watch. Brewmaster Mike Mannis brewed the beer specifically with the same intensity of the wall itself. Rich, bold, and designed to keep you warm through the hardest winters. Stephen King may be a master of horror, but did you know he also has a love for craft beer? Hailing from Maine, he often enjoys a craft beer from his home state, including what is reported his favorite brewery, Allagash Brewery. Double fun fact, Allagash White actually made a spooky appearance in the 2019 Pet Cemetery. Flying Dog's Gonzo Imperial Porter is more than just a beer. It is a celebration to Hunter S. Thompson's legacy. Featuring Stedman's iconic skeleton artwork, this beer has deep, bold flavors that are as rebellious and complex as Hunter S. Thompson himself. They've even sold signed versions of this beer by Stedman himself, with proceeds going to the Gonzo Foundation, promoting activism of Hunter S. Thompson, keeping his spirit alive. From Davy Byrne's Pub to Mulligan's, James Joyce's Ulysses is a love letter to Dublin's pub culture. Pubs are the backdrop to some of the novel's most memorable scenes. And while Guinness isn't explicitly stated,
Joyce later weaves playful references to this iconic brew in Finnegan's Wake. Ever wonder what kind of pub Neil Gaiman would like? He describes it as dark, warm, with the charm of wooden beams. His love for these places often comes out in his storytelling, where everyday places can often turn into extraordinary adventure. Imagine sitting in a cozy Oxford pub with J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. These legendary authors commonly met up at the Eagle and the Child with their literacy group called the Inklings. In the 1930s and the 1940s, they shared drafts of The Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia, had spirited debates in this exact pub, creating some of the best works in fantasy writing.
All right. Thank you for taking us down that historically and super fun fact lane of beer and literature.
You're welcome.
Probably going to watch that one more than once for sure.
For shizzles.
I like how beer and literature has always played this vital role, and not just, as you discussed, the pubs of Edinburgh and Dublin as well. I think you threw out there and well, but it's also in the pages of a lot of iconic literature that's well known. It's talking about the Shire and Lord of the Rings, right? They're having their pints in the pub. Do you want to pop into the pub and get a pint? It's probably my favorite thing to take away from that adventure. Also, there's the questionable drinking and the also big known train spotting. And then really it's just how stories can remind us of how beer and literature is both a social connector and it's often a reflection of like that deeper human experiences.
Yeah, I think
it doesn't always have to be about beer, right? Yeah. Or having that enhanced illusion to life. Yeah. But you know what? It's fun to pop in and have a pint and have a conversation with a friend, and again,
meet a new friend.
You know, strangers and bar stools is a beautiful thing too.
Yeah. So I think it creates a relatability when you're reading. I think it's a really quick, easy relatability for a lot of people. So, and that's cool.
I'm starting my New Year's resolutions early by hanging out in more bookstores.
Yeah, and I think that it adds to our passion of the culture.
Yeah,
of the beer scene. So, love that. It was a really fun combo of two very different cultures that you don't necessarily think of combining together. So, it's sweet. I like that.
I feel like we've got some episodes coming up, future interviews. We're really going to get into community and collaboration. And I feel like that's what you're foreshadowing here. And it's such a cool way to start out the season because there's been such large revelations throughout the year, and doing this show and getting to meet people and talk with people and getting to know all of you and how much that has grown us individually and on the show as well. Yeah. Pretty awesome.
Meeting more and more people. People are awesome.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Streets look ugly when you're alone.
You're right. You should sing your own song.
Women sing wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down. When you're strange. Faces come out of the rain when you're strange. No one remembers your name when you're strange. Alright. Apparently Morrison was onto something way back in the day. He was also a big fan of heroin, so there's that.
Is that what he was on to?
I think so.
Heroin. He said he was on to something back in the day.
Oh! I'm not good at dad and mom jokes. Probably because I'm not a dad or a mom.
Fair.
I'm a dog mom.
Yeah.
Pretty good at that.
You get some good bone jokes.
You know, I'm not going to throw out a bone joke. I mean, I'm definitely going to throw out a bone joke, but not like that.
Not like that. Insert
right.
picture of Remy with a deer leg in her mouth.
She's my favorite quadrupedal.
Well, she should be. She should be.
All right.
All right, get us rolling.
Let's get into Brews and Bites. All right, this week on Brews and Bites, we are getting into something that we hope is a good start to the comforting fall season. We're whipping up a delicious apple crisp, and we're pairing it with a saison-sour blend that we picked up out of our Beer of the Month Club. Really excited about how these two came together, and we hope you enjoy this Brews and Bites. saison-sour aged strong beer. It's called Propolis from Brasserie Denham out of Quebec, Canada, with a delightful fall dessert, apple crisp. Very simple, very easy. As the cool weather was hitting, we were like, what sounds really good right now? Well, some warm apple crisp, right? So visually it's really exciting to look at. It's crispy, it's golden, the apples kind of pop, and then of course the beer is absolutely beautiful. It's this bright golden color, it had a beautiful head on it, and it smells amazing in here. The cinnamon brown sugar really just like comes through right at your nose. So I'm really excited to get into it. We're expecting a lot of complementary flavors, and then since the saison is barrel aged, we're hoping that sour kind of comes in at the end. Ready?
Ready.
Alright, super excited for this thing. It's warm, the apple is tart, it makes it sweet because of the sugar that's in there. This smells more like a sour on the nose. But there's the floral from the saison. Oh wow. Yeah, super complementary to one another. The honey and a little bit of malt in there is really bringing out the sweetness of the apple crisp, the cinnamon, the sugar. And then I feel like at the end, that sour is kind of cutting it, almost like cleansing my palate. It's really bright, lingers at the end. I feel like if you needed a dessert to finish off the night, maybe it was a soup night, maybe it was a squash night, I feel like this is that perfect fall pairing. It's a low ABV, it's easy to drink, it's light, it's effervescent, it's full-bodied. The flavors just really just compound like all in one taste. It's marvelous.
What's it think? Or bite out of it between. Cinnamon, tartness of the apples, a little crisp on top, nice and sweet. Oatmeal. Okay. So for me, the honey from this really pops the cinnamon. Getting a lot of the cinnamon on the end. You're right, it totally like kind of cuts out that buttery heavy at the end, which for better or worse. The honey also helps kind of sweeten because these are tartar, a little bit more tart on the apples. And so the honey is sweetening that up a little bit too. I get a lot more saison on the nose than I do with the sour. Personally, it's like very saison-y to me. But the smell of that with next to like, you can get the oatmeal and cinnamon are just like amazing in itself. Like, I don't know if I've had one of our meals like smell complement each other as well as this has. Apples are cooked perfectly. Yeah, to me the heroes are the cinnamon and the beer and the honey. It's very complimentary. I'm gonna, oh gosh, put that on my label. Very complimentary in their flavors. Not a lot of contrast. Very complimentary. Not a lot of contrasting flavors. It's really just elevating everything together. The beer itself has a great nose to it, good head retention, give it a little swirl and it pops right back up. And the honey just goes perfectly with this meal. Like, you're right, like it literally is like a perfect pairing together. I don't know what else to like. It's all complimentary. It just goes goes together absolutely fantastically. I think I would have liked to see the oats pop a little bit more from it. And the beer didn't do a ton of that because the cinnamon and the honey popped so much. I was actually kind of expecting the oats and the honey to like pop, but I think the cinnamon kind of overpowered that a bit. And that's okay. It's freaking delicious, and this is fall in a nutshell. Like, I couldn't think of a better fall, especially like early fall like this where you're still having the warm days. So you want something light and a light beer, but kind of get those wholesome flavors. It is like perfect season for this. Would definitely recommend. Get some flowers. Liz is chilling down.
Like the beer is just so light and so easily drinking, where it actually makes the dessert a little heavier. And I think I've always thought of apple crisp as not a heavy dessert, right? Because it's not like a pie where you have to get through the crust as well. It's basically a deconstructed pie, right? But because of the sugars and how they break down the apple, they kind of create that layer of goo at the bottom of buttery and sugary deliciousness. And then you get this guy, and it really just like, as it complements, I almost like think of it as a waterfall. It's like complementing, contrasting, and cleansing the palate as you swallow it. Very good. I love the honey too, right? Like, honey is such a fall thing as well, right? Well, it's happening throughout the entire bits of summer, but you're kind of like harvesting your last bits of honey towards the end of the year as the apples fall out of the tree, right? Everything's kind of starting to die or go into hibernation, you know? I think it's a fun, beautiful representation of the sweet that kind of falls before it comes back in the spring.
It tastes good and it's metaphorically beautiful.
Only if I had a shag carpet to lay upon it.
There you have it. The perfect pairing, warm apple crisp to bring in this lovely fall weather. And because it's like fall and it's still warm out, you still want a hint of that summertime with the nice tart sour. And like, this just couldn't have been better. It just really popped the apple. It was incredible together. So, I mean, this was a unique one that we kind of came up with last minute. My stepdad brought us apples from his tree, yes. And we're like, we gotta use these things, and I was just like, well, let's create this crisp. And
also because we gotta get in the car in less than 12 hours ago.
But like, how cool! I don't know. That was such a fun, like, perfect seasonal pairing, and hopefully this guy's got some good ideas. If you've ever paired a crisp with a beer, let us know what it was. And
send us some pictures, some videos. We like those too. We'd love to see it.
It'll be a great time. If you guys enjoy our food and beer pairings as much as we enjoy doing them and creating them for you, make sure to check out Liz's book. You can get it on Amazon. Link is below. It's going to give you the basics, especially if you're looking to get started and trying to pair crazy fun things like apple crisp with sours. This book will get you hooked up. I would definitely recommend it. Go check it out. And it's by Liz. And look at how fun it is. It's just a great fun read. So would do, should do. All right. Welcome to this week's top 10 list. It's going to be about beer and books, and it's going to be awesome. From brewing techniques and brewing history to the joys of homebrewing, some cultural fun, like, history combinations. I don't know how to say that correctly, but I love those. Those are my favorite stories. This is going to give you the best beer and books to read, to learn about beer.
According to us.
Yeah, according to us. So take that. Here's our list.
Number 10 is A History of the World in 6 Glasses by Tom Standage. So this one explores how 6 key beverages throughout the world, beer, wine, spirits, coffee, tea, and soda, i.e. Coca-Cola, shape major historical events and societal changes, which is kind of a big deal. Each drink actually symbolizes a distinct era, illustrating the cultural, political, and economic impact that these beverages have played throughout history.
Yeah, it's a really cool way to look at history. It's kind of like the quick summary of it. It's
different colored glasses.
Yeah, just a
not
cool,
Olivia and Rose.
Very, very creative.
Can
cool
pause
way.
it. Beer goggles.
Beer goggles.
Totally takes away. But you're like all serious, and I was like, "Here's a joke."
Here's a joke. That's all right. That's fine. All right, number 9. I know we talked about it. We're going to talk about it again.
Because it's cheating list.
Yeah. Beer Pairing Basics by Elizabeth Hess. We've talked about it. It's an essential guideline for basic pairing beers and foods, especially if you're looking to kind of jump into that world and elevate either your beer or your food or your total meal. This is going to get you there. And then you just keep growing and experimenting.
Just keep growing.
It's freaking great. So would recommend. And it's funny every now and then because sometimes Liz is funny.
Not just a face for radio. Number 8 is A Liquid Bread by Nicholas P. and Money. This one explores the rich history and cultural significance of beer, often referred to as a liquid bread. From ancient times to the modern craft beer movement, the book really gets into the brewing process, beer's role in societies across the globe, and its evolution into a beloved global beverage.
At number 7, The Beer Bible, 2nd edition. And the reason we put this book on here, one, because it's giant, and it makes us look smart, but mainly because it's a really cool book if you're big into, especially brewing. It's going to have all these really famous beers. They're going to tell you the type of malts, hops, grains, stuff that went into it. It doesn't give you necessarily proportions, but it does give you some really cool facts. And if you are looking to up your brewing game or your home brewing yourself, like this is a really cool way, and they kind of teach you the evolution of how different aspects happened and when the beers came to life, and it's a cool book, really for brewing specific. If you're not that into brewing, probably not the best book for you, but
it'll also help
cool.
you pass your Cicerone exam if you're doing that.
There you go. So there's that.
I'm gonna take that with me. I was like, I know these questions.
Number 5. Probably the first beer book I actually ever purchased. The New World Guide to Beer. Explains how beer is made, describes different kinds of brands made around the world, and tells how to choose and elevate beer. So they're going to hit your food pairing, how to brew it better. This one's by good old Michael Jackson. Sorry, I'm not a cover person. Once they have a paper cover, I take it off because I just shred them. So I know, I'm a monster, but it is what it is. It's a really cool book. Lots of great information in here. Lots of good history.
He's also hilarious.
And super funny.
He had a way of combining comedy and history and beer. I'm going to guess he liked to drink and write, and what better way to write?
Fair. I didn't know he passed.
I think he did, right?
Oh, we'll find out.
Maybe cut that part out.
We'll find out if it's true or not, then we'll cut it.
Right. I actually do have this book, but it's packed away over there somewhere in my tower closet.
I thought we had this one. That's why I didn't buy it. I saw the cover and I was like,
All right. Number 4 is the Oxford Companion to Beer. It is here, but it's stuffed in a tote somewhere.
We couldn't find it.
Yeah, this is a big one for you encyclopedia nerds out there. I mean, this is a Rolodex. This is your index. You can look up literally anything that comes to your mind about beer. I'm talking region, I'm talking style, I'm talking ingredients, I'm talking people. It's in there. It's a must-have. Should be on the shelf if you are an enthusiast, home brewer, just curious about the world.
There you go. And at number 3, The Complete Joy of Home Brewing, 4th edition, fully revised and updated.
Also a hilarious human being.
A title that rolls off the tongue nicely. I do love the cover, though. The cover on this is pretty funny in itself. It's everything you need to know about brewing beer at home. Yeah. Honestly, if you can get through this, it's going to give you recipes. It's going to give you charts on hops and hop flavors and the secrets of fermentation, beer kit tips. There's so much
temperature,
cool stuff in here that you could probably, if you can read and learn, probably alleviate a lot of going to courses and learning stuff because it's all in this freaking book. It's so cool. And like that, look at it's Santa with an elf and kind of a provocative image.
Wait, I want to see. Oh,
yeah.
He just looks like he's relaxed. Oh, never mind.
I don't know what the elf's doing.
Checking out his knee.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, we're gonna go past that. That should have been number 1 just based on that image alone. That's all right. We're moving on.
We didn't know it was
number 2.
Made it that far in the book yet.
Right. Made it into chapter 1. Okay. Number 2, Designing Great Beers, author Ray Daniels. Again, we've got brewing formulas, we've got tables and information to take the brewing really to that next level. That's what it's all about, right? We're talking about growing. You pick an eye to start, babe, and then you work your way up. Yeah. And that's the secret to life. You're welcome. Out. Mic drop.
Mic drop. Done. Yeah, basically, I mean, if I'm not reading a self-help brain book, it's probably a beer book. Those are kind of the 2 books I'm reading. Numero 1! The Brewer's Tale, a History of the World According to Beer.
You know why I know that you chose this as number 1? Because it plays right into your fun facts persona. Like, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I love that you're the historian and the fun fact person.
And on top of it, this book has my favorite feel of any book. It's got the soft pages, the cover, and
Kind
the
of gritty on the
it's got a little
outside.
gritty, got some texture, and it's soft and like you can
Do the
malleable. I just want to sit and do this all day. I'm not gonna read it. I'm just gonna fan it. I can feel smart, and it's gonna like talk you down tales of beers that are no longer being brewed, why they're not being brewed, bringing them back to life, and just kind of how beer has been such an integral part of history and moving forward. It's a great read. I haven't gotten as far into it as I would like to, but I have definitely wrote down some fun facts out of it. So it is my current one of my 2 books I'm reading right now.
1 and 2. All right.
Then bonus,
Oh.
because we don't talk about it, but I've
Let me see,
also
let me see.
gotten a lot of fun facts out of this book.
yeah, that's a great one.
This one's also really good. Beer in America.
Top
Same kind
11.
of thing. Just really good for fun facts. Gives you some interesting stories and like kind of just how beer was and culture was a long freaking time ago. And how it just kind of
Great for trivia.
yeah, it like settled and how it like helped build America. Like I didn't know before this that the first building that got made when when the settlers got over here was like a brewery.
I didn't know.
And they
that's right.
literally like went to land earlier because they ran out of beer. Like it's just cool. It's fun stuff like that. So another good book if you want some history. But anyways, that's it. That's all I got.
That's it.
Bonus book.
I love it. That's a good way to end the top 10 on a top 11. So this is our list of books, from the brewer to the historian to the fun fact to the storyteller to the lover of why beer and community and collaboration and how it has tested time.
Yeah. And beer and food.
It's a beautiful thing.
Beautiful thing. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed our list. And with that, we're going to give Sam.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, Sam.
Thanks for all that you do.
Thank you for everything you do, especially coming in on these new things. Like,
Oh my God.
how freaking awesome did this interview turn out? It looks so good. And the next ones are just getting better. Hopefully you guys are seeing the improvements that are happening every single episode, every single season. And a lot of that is Sam. Like, Sam's coming in with great ideas, and he's rocking shit out and helping us make this vision come to life. But if you are a brewery or a business owner and you're looking for trivia or spelling bees or bingo, or hosting an event where you want some fun, Sam is great at it, and he's also really good at creating like themes.
He's a great storyteller.
He's a great
himself.
storyteller. So anyways, it's a great time if you're looking to spice it up or bring something into your brewery. Feel free to reach out to Shut Up and Drink Trivia. And also, if you're looking for some top-notch video production, Short Chop Productions is where it's at. You've seen what Sam's done here, and we just keep getting better, and so does he. So give him a shout out if you need some shit done.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's
Season
Sipisode.
3.
Season 3, Sipisode 1. We got to interview Ryan at Fiction Beer Co. We had some fun brew news that we got to wrap up throughout the week, right? Oktoberfest at GABF. The fall is here, and hopefully winter doesn't come too fast behind it, but it often does. We also had a really fun Brews and Bites to start the segment off. I enjoyed that as well. I love how it connects family and how they bring us gifts, and we get to give them gifts back. Here, you should pair it with this beer. Like, what a cool Sipisode. We got books, we got literature, we got travel, we got people. Life doesn't get much better than that, but we sure do appreciate you joining.
Yeah, that was awesome. Hope you guys had as much fun with it as we did. And we will see you in 2 weeks
That's right.
with Emporium Brewing for our Halloween-themed edition. So stay tuned for more.
Spooky, ooky lullabies. Spooky, ooky.
All right, ta-ta! Woo!
We're gone.
Bye.